Welcome to the Lord of the Rings Lorecast, the show that explores the background of Tolkien's amazing world from the very beginning. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you have to deal with somebody professionally, but on a personal level, they've disappointed you or done something that breaks the relationship, but because you are connected to them on some professional level, you still have to interact with them? If it was up to you, you would have already written them off, not wanted to contact them at all. If they had approached you, you would have said, no, thank you, and walked away. But because of a professional commitment of some kind, you have to still interact with them. And so what do? Well, you don't show any warmth. You don't say, oh, it's good to see you. How have you been? Instead, it's strictly business. Thank you. I appreciate what you've done. I will move this forward. I will do my part. Have a good day. Goodbye. Period. That's it. This is exactly what happens in this episode on a few different occasions. You see, Aldarion finally returns. That's where we left off last time. And at first, he goes to seek the king. And later on, he goes to try to find his family. But they don't return any warmth to him, and they treat him as if he's almost a stranger. There's a lot of really interesting dialogue in this episode, and so we're going to get right into it. And at first, when Aldarion returns, he goes directly to his father, directly to the king. He's both reporting in as a captain, but also as a son. And he's hoping for at least some amount of warmth or kindness. He goes to Meneldur, his father, and Tolkien says here, Meneldur spoke to him as king to a captain whose conduct is in question. You have been long away, he said coldly. It is more than 3 years now since the date you set for your return. Alas, said Aldarion, even I have become weary of the sea, and for long my heart has yearned westward. But I have been detained against my heart. There is much to do, and all things go backward in my absence. He's trying to explain to him that because he spent so long before he went on this trip, that he had to make up for all the things that kind of regressed while he was away, while he was spending time in Númenor. And the king, of course, has a retort. I do not doubt it, said Meneldur. You will find it here also, in your right land, I fear. Basically, he's like, yeah, they went backwards over there while you were here, but now that you've been over there for so long, you're going to find that things have kind of regressed here as well in your right land, meaning where you're supposed to be. Then he responds, that I hope to redress, said Aldarion, but the world is changing again. And this is interesting. This is one of the first times that he really gives us any insight, or at least gives the king or anybody else in Númenor any clarity on what exactly is going on out there. The world is changing again. Outside, nigh on 1,000 years have passed since the lords of the West sent their power against Angband, and those days are forgotten, or wrapped in dim legend among men of Middle-earth. They are troubled again, and fear haunts them. I desire greatly to consult with you, to give accounts of my deeds and my thoughts concerning what should be done. Aldarion is explaining that he has his finger on the pulse of what the common people in Middle Earth are going through, what they believe, what they understand, but also what they are pit against, that the Númenóreans are sheltered from. And you also have to think about this. It has been nigh on 1,000 years since the end of the First Age, the throwing down of Morgoth. The First Age didn't even last 1,000 years. Think about in our own timeline. How many of us have a clear picture of what the world was like 1,000 years ago? To regular people with regular lifespans, 1,000 years is an eternity. You shall do so, said Menelder. Indeed, I expect no less, but there are other matters which I judge more urgent. Let a king first rule well his own house ere he correct others, it is said. It is true of all men. I will now give you counsel, son of Menelder. You have also a life of your own. Half of yourself you have ever neglected. To you I say now, go home. Aldarion stood suddenly still, and his face was stern. If you know, tell me, he said. Where is my home? Where your wife is, said Menelder. You have broken your word to her, whether by necessity or no. She dwells now in Emerie, in her own house, far from the sea. Thither you must go at once. And I love the symbolism simply in that, in those lines right there. She has moved away from the sea, which is Aldarion. Aldarion is the sea. It's the thing that he loves above everything else. She has withdrawn from that, meaning also from him. Had any word been left for me whither to go, I would have gone directly to the haven, said Aldarion. Basically, had anybody told me already, I would have already gone, but nobody told me anything. And he goes on and says, but at least I need not now ask tidings of strangers. He turned then to go, but paused, saying, and the sentence is a little bit odd in its construction, but I think you'll get the point. Captain Aldarion has forgotten somewhat that belongs to his other half, which in his waywardness he also thinks urgent. Meaning, he came here with a message for the king and he forgot to give it to him, basically. He has a letter, and he's still speaking in third person about his other half, his Captain Aldarion persona, that he was charged to deliver to the king of Armenelos. And he bows down and presents his father with a letter. And it's not revealed at this moment what that letter is, but I can tell you, it was written with an elven hand. He turns to leave and takes two of his men with him, and although it is nightfall, they set up their horses, and in about an hour, they head off. They travel all through the night, all through the next day, and we learn that they finally make it to Emerie at right about dusk, the nightfall of the next day. He sees the house at a distance, he blows a horn, he jumps off his horse, and in the front court of the house, he sees Arendis. And it's described like this. She's clad in white and stood upon the steps that went up to the pillars before the door. She held herself high, but as he drew near, he saw that she was pale and her eyes overbright. I have to wonder what exactly overbright means. My gut instinct on this is that it means that they were highly reflective of light, as if there was a glaze of tears that had recently been on them. That's what I'm going to go with there. I think that's what that means. But if you have any insight into overbright eyes and what that may actually mean, please let me know. And then she says, "You come late, my lord." In a very matter-of-fact sort of way, I'm sure. "I had long ceased to expect you. I fear that there is no such welcome prepared for you as I had made when you were due." "Mariners are not hard to please," he said. Again, just kind of dancing around it like they typically do. "That is well," she said, and she turned back into the house and left him. Then 2 women came forward, and an old crone who went down the steps. As Aldarion went in, she said to the men in a loud voice so that he could hear, "There is no lodging for you here. Go down to the homestead at the hill's foot." "No, Zaman," said Olbar, one of the 2 companions. "I'll not stay. I am for home by the Lord Aldarion's leave. Is all well here?" "Well enough," she said. "Your son has eaten himself out of your memory, but go and find your own answers. You'll be warmer there than your captain." Clearly, this is foreshadowing what's about to occur. Aldarion is taken into the house. He's offered food, but not by Arendis, by serving women. Arendis doesn't show up for the meal, and once Aldarion is done eating, she finally enters the room and says, "You will be weary, my lord, after such haste. A guest room is made ready for you when you will. My women will wait on you. If you are cold, call for a fire." Again, matter of fact, as if he's just a guest, somebody she has to put up with. Aldarion doesn't answer right away. He goes to this guest room, this bedchamber, and he's so tired that he decides to just fall into the bed. And we're told that he soon forgets the shadows of Middle-earth and of Numenor in a heavy sleep. This implies a lot, that not only the weight of what's happening between him and his wife is on his shoulders, but also something else, a shadow from Middle-earth. He falls into a heavy sleep, but then we're told this: "But at cockcrow, right at dawn, he awoke to a great disquiet and anger. He rose at once and thought to go without noise from the house. He would find his men Hendrich and the horses, his other companion, and ride to his kinsman Halaton, the sheep lord of Hurasterni." He was clearly frustrated with the situation and wanted to get out of this to somewhere that feels more welcome or maybe even safe. And he decides that later, and this is a quote, later he would summon Arendis to bring his daughter to Armenelos and not have dealings with her upon her own ground. He clearly felt like this was not the right time. It was not the right place. Things were not going to go his way. So he decided to maybe take some control of that. But then, it says here, as he went outwards the doors, Arendis came forward. She had not lain in bed that night, and she stood before him on the threshold. "You leave more promptly than you came, my lord," she said. "I hope that, being a mariner, you have not found this house of women irksome already, to go thus before your business is done. Indeed, what business brought you hither? May I learn it before you leave?" Again, so cold, so distant. He says, "I was told in Armenelos that my wife was here and had removed my daughter hither," he answered. "As to the wife, I am mistaken, it seems. But have I not a daughter?" He's clearly explaining that he gets what she's doing. She is no longer interacting with him as if she's a wife. She's interacting with him as if she's a simple stranger. But he's still hoping that maybe he has a daughter here. But she responds, "You had one some years ago," she said, "but my daughter has not yet risen." "Then let her rise while I go for my horse," said Aldarion. And we get a little bit of insight into Arendis' thinking at this point. It says that she would have withheld Ancalame from meeting him at that time at all. She would have kept him from seeing his daughter. But she feared to lose the king's favor, and the council had long shown their displeasure at the upbringing of the child in the country. There was a political reason why she couldn't put up that barrier. She wasn't willing to go that far. Aldarion and his companion Hendrich put their horses together. They get them all ready. They ride back, and Ancalame is standing there beside her mother on the threshold of the property. And we're told this: she stood erect and stiff as her mother, and made him no courtesy as he dismounted and came up the steps toward her. "Who are you?" she said, "and why do you bid me rise so early before the house is stirring?" Aldarion looked at her keenly, and though his face was stern, he smiled within, for he saw there a child of his own, rather than of Arendis, for all her schooling. "You knew me once, Lady Encalame," he said, "but no matter. Today I am but a messenger from Armenelos, to remind you that you are the daughter of the king's heir, and so far as I now see, you shall be his heir in your turn. You will not always dwell here, but go back to your bed now, my lady, until your maidservant wakes, if you will. I am in haste to see the king. Farewell." He kissed the hand of Encalame and went down the steps. Then he mounted and rode away with a wave of his hand. It's time for that spring reset. I'm taking a look at everything in my closet and figuring out that, oh no, this absolutely needs to go. And it's about time I replace things so that my clothes aren't older than my 15-year-old. Now you might think that they lasted that long because they were well made, but no, they're in terrible condition. Unlike the new jeans I just got from Quince. Jeans have always been my personal go-to because you can kind of wear them for lots of different things, but maybe they're not your thing. Maybe you're looking for, 100% European linen with insanely soft flow knit activewear fabric. It's definitely getting warmer, and their flow knit activewear is moisture wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it every day. So pick out what you want. You can't go wrong because they have prices 50 to 60% less than similar brands. And like I said before, they are high quality. I continue to wear their clothes all the time, and I know that these new jeans are going to last me a lot better than the other things in my wardrobe. And on top of it, they look great. They're so comfortable, and I spent just as much on the jeans that I am now cleaning out of my wardrobe. So if you're looking for something better, just all around better, go check out Quince. So go do it right now. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/ringslore for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. Go to quince.com/ringslore for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ringslore.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show. Thank you so much to everybody who helps support this in every different way. We have to welcome some new patrons, Jesse K and Miss H. Welcome to the Patreon. I'm so glad that you are here. I hope you're enjoying the ad-free episodes or the bonus episodes or whatever all the things are that you get. T-shirts and stickers, all sorts of fun stuff. Head over to patreon.com/LOTR Lorecast. Check out everything. And if I'm helping you get through your workday, your commutes, your workouts, mowing the lawn, whatever it is out there, then check it out. Maybe you'd like to toss me a little bit back and get something as well. Also, we have to shout out all of our VIP patrons. Here we go. Let's see if we can get through this as fast as possible. AK Music Lover, Apollo, Aragorn III, Alte Morton, Austin C., Azzle Razzle, Barney D, Bo, Black Squirrel, Brandy D, Cutter Metalworks, Daniel Nightwear, David S, David M, Divine Madman, Fulcrum, Gimli A Break, Gemma D, Jesse P, J Eggs, Jezer, Kate L, Katie S, Capenna, Lore FC, Lori B, Mason Weathertop, Michael M, Nick K, Nostrils of Sauron, Richard J, Rosie Rose, Sam B, Seju, TJT, and Tour Son of Whore. Thank you so much for all of your support. You are all the real MVPs. I've never made that joke. Have I not made that joke before? I mean, I probably have. I just don't remember it in all the different episodes I've done at this point. Thank you for being here. Also, if you'd like to help out in other ways, you can get your words on the show by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You don't need to be listening on Apple Podcasts. You just need an account. and then you can drop a review in. Also, you can rate the show on Spotify. You can send me cookies in the mail. No, don't send me cookies in the mail. I'm not giving you my address. You can share the show with your friends, all that stuff. Thank you for being here. Let's get back to the story because this episode isn't done yet. The scene with Ancalame meeting her father again and his response is so interesting. He addresses her again as a stranger, as somebody just there who she just happens to be meeting. But he sees in her something that tells him that there's more of him in his daughter than Arendis. And that's enough. And he leaves. He and his companion, they head off after this dialogue. And we find out then that Arendis weeps from grief, but still more from anger. She was hoping to get something else out of him. It says here, she had looked for some penitence that she might extend after rebuke, pardon, if prayed for. But he had dealt with her as if she were the offender and ignored her before her daughter. Neither of them got what they were looking for. Aldarion was looking for home, for warmth, and she denied that to him for justifiable reasons. And she was looking for him to at least admit that he was wrong, to apologize. And he didn't do that either. And then she remembers words from her mother, Nunith, from long before. And she now saw Aldarion as something, quote, large and not to be tamed, driven by a fierce will, more perilous than chill. And she stands up, turns from the window, thinking of her wrongs, it says. And then she says out loud, perilous! I am steel hard to break, so he would find even were he the king of Numenor. Even if he was the king, she would be steel hard to break, and I would suppose cold as well. The story leaves Arendis at this point, and we follow Aldarion to the house of his cousin, the house of Halatan, the place that Ulbar, who we mentioned earlier, left to go see his son. This is where they are now. And as Aldarion and Hendrich approach, because they both stayed at the other estate that night, remember? They hear music and dancing. They are celebrating the return of Ulbar. There's gifts and tales and stories and dancing, the playing of pipes. And they come up, and at first nobody notices the travelers. And Aldarion is watching with a smile on his face. And then Ulbar cries out, "The great captain!" And Ebal, his son, ran forward to Aldarion's stirrup. "Lord Captain," he said eagerly. "What is it? I am in haste," said Aldarion, for now his mood was changed and he felt wrathful and bitter. And I'm guessing because he's realizing that this is not the welcome he got when he went to visit Arendis, which is what he was hoping for. "I would but ask," said the boy, but how old must a man be before he may go over sea in a ship, like my father?" Aldarion responds, "As old as the hills and with no other hope in life," said Aldarion, "or whenever he has a mind. But your mother, Ulbar's son, will she not greet me?" When Ulbar's wife came forward, Aldarion took her hand. "Will you receive this of me?" he said. "It is but little return for 6 years of good man's aid that you gave me. Basically, thank you for allowing me the time with your husband, 6 years away. I know that's a long time. Here's a gift." Then from a wallet under his tunic, he took a jewel red like fire upon a band of gold, a ring, and he pressed it into her hand. And then he said, "From the king of the elves it came, but he will think it well bestowed when I tell him." The but here leads me to believe that this was supposed to be a gift for Arendis. But because she did not welcome him home, he decided to give it to Olbar's wife as thanks for his service. And then he and Hendrich rode away. We never hear about Olbar's wife's response to this gift or what Olbar thought about it. And as they're riding away, they get some distance from this location, and Aldarion turns to Hendrich and he says, "Whatever welcome awaits you, friend, out west, I will not keep you from it. Ride now home with my thanks. I have a mind to go alone." "It's not fitting, Lord Captain," said Hendrich. "It is not," said Aldarion, "but that is the way of it. Farewell." He sends his friend away to let him go home to enjoy his homecoming, and then leaves alone. And we're given this single line from Tolkien after that moment. "Then he rode on alone to Armenelos, and never again set foot in Emeria." It's another one of those moments where he tells us about the future, doesn't leave it a mystery. And then for the first time in this section of the story, we leave Aldarion. And we are given a scene of the moment where Aldarion left the chamber where he had spoken last with his father when he gave him the letter. And we see Menelder looking at the letter, wondering. It says here, "For he saw that it came from King Gil-Galad in Lindon. It was sealed and bore his device of white stars upon a blue rondure. Upon the outer fold, it was written, 'Given at Mithland to the hand of Lord Aldarion, king's heir of Numenor, to be delivered to the High King at Armenelos in person.'" Then Menelder broke the seal and read, "Arenion Gil-Galad, son of Fingon, to Tar Menelder of the line of Arendil. Greeting. The Valar keep you, and may no shadow fall upon the Isle of Kings. Long have I owed you thanks, for you have so many times sent to me your son, Enardil Aldarion, the greatest elf friend that now is among men, as I deem. At this time, I ask your pardon, if I have detained him overlong in my service, for I had great need of the knowledge of men and their tongues, which he alone possesses. He has dared many perils to bring me counsel. Of my need, he will speak to you, yet he does not guess how great it is, being young and full of hope. Therefore, I write this for the eyes of the King of Numenor only. A new shadow arises in the east. It is no tyranny of evil men, as your son believes, but a servant of Morgoth is stirring, and evil things wake again." Thanks for listening to the Lord of the Rings Lorecast. If you'd like to learn more about other fantasy worlds, check out my other podcasts, The Elder Scrolls Lorecast, The Witcher Lorecast, and more at robotsradio.net. If you'd like to reach out, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a note on Twitter at robots_radio, or join our amazing community on the Robots Radio Discord. There are links in the show notes, or just search Robots Radio Discord, or find the link on robotsradio.net. I'll see you next time.